topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the host and their guests, and not those of W4CS Radio, its employees, or affiliates. W4CS makes no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for listening to the Cancer Support Network on W4CS.com.
With Light Up Your Life, and it is Friday the 11th, and I can't believe, can you believe it's already almost mid-February? Amazing how time is flying. I hope you all are doing well, and I chopped off my hair. I was intending on getting this haircut because my hair had gotten really long, and I've been actually wanting to donate it for a while now. I tried to donate this summer. It wasn't long enough for Locks of Love. But then when I went to the hairstylist, I was bringing up the story, and she said I can try to measure and see if we can do it for our program called Wigs for Kids. I was like a little kid getting so excited. I was like, I hope it's long enough. She said, it will be short. And do you still want to do it? And I said, yes. And so I was so excited, and I'm getting a little teary-eyed because last Saturday was World Cancer Day, and then I was able to donate on Sunday, and it was just like I've just felt really great that I was able to do some small contribution. And today I'm really excited about our conversation. Sorry. I don't know. I cry a lot as I'm getting older, and I think I just need to embrace it even more. Sometimes I tell my clients, sometimes you're going to end up seeing me cry with you, which is not always a bad thing. I'm really excited about our conversation, as in all conversations, but today especially because anytime we get to have a guest who speaks about cancer or does work with cancer, that's extra special to our mission at Talk 4 Media, because we have our Cancer Support Network, but then also personally and professionally how it touches my heart. And at this point, I don't know anyone who hasn't been impacted, as we call it, the big C, but who hasn't been impacted by cancer. I also just went in for my mammogram last Monday as a preventative measure. And, you always are reminded I walked in, I was like, it's such a humble gift for me to even be able to get a preventative screening done when so many women across the world don't have that privilege. And, I just want to remind us not to take things for granted when it comes to our health in this country. And today's guest, Dr. Rachel Wellner, is going to be talking about her expansive work in providing service in these third world nations and countries, and how she wants to spread this mission work about health and wellness and about preventative screenings. And so this is why I'm just, this show in particular holds dear to my heart for a lot of reasons. And I don't want to get anything wrong on her wonderful bio, so I'm going to read a little bit off the script, as you'll see me looking down. But just to share before we bring her on, Dr. Rachel Wellner is a board-certified general surgeon and a fellow of the American College of Surgeons, and most recently, assistant professor of surgery at the and I hope I'm saying this right, Montefiore Einstein Center for Cancer Care. She served on a lot of different hospital settings, such as Mount Sinai, Beth Israel Medical Center. She's been the director of breast services at NYE Continuum Cancer Center. And I can't wait for her to share her story instead of me doing this off. But Dr. Wellner not only graduated with a medical degree, but then she also pursued a master's degree in public health. So having that MPH as well, and just that expansive background and providing great care. And like I said, she has done work, and her experience in the Dominican Republic with underserved populations, and just this expansive work in breast research, breast oncology, and really helping to look at the preventative model as well as the model that we have when it comes to treatment. And then what's really exciting that also all of this, I can't believe all the things that she's done. She's also a wonderful author. And this copy that she sent to me called Doctoroo and the Case of the Hacking Hippo. And as you all know, I do a lot of work with children. I love children. That's my calling, for a lot of things. But for her to have really used this awesome medium of children's books, because you all know I've talked to you before about bibliotherapy and how important books are for children to have a little bit of displacement from what's happening or bothering them or anxiety, and letting them jump into a book just like we as adults love is so wonderful. So I can't wait to really talk to her about the inspiration about this wonderful book. And when we bring up the website later, you can get a copy off of Amazon. And really excited about our conversation today. So welcome. I'm going to have to ask her what I'm going to call her.
You can call me Dr. Wellner, Rachel, whatever you're comfortable with. And thank you, Artie. I really appreciate that wonderful introduction. That was very humbling, and I appreciate it. And first, I should just say that I did something similar recently, but I didn't qualify. I cut off, I had very, very, very long hair. Mm-hmm. And what happened is that my hair was so tangled. And yes, it had gotten so long and so thick and so tangled that they weren't able to use it for anything. So I ended up just with very short hair. So now if I go and do it again, I'll know to use detangler pretty much every day. That's part of the part of what you have to do in order to prepare your hair to be used.
Totally. Dr. I had the same problem because there was such a big knot and we weren't sure if it was going to happen. Like, it was like when I had even untangled my hair before I went into the salon because I was so embarrassed. And I was sitting in the chair with my comb, like literally combing my hair. So I made it easier, but I was still in that chair for a good hour because she literally, and we weren't sure, but she was able to manage. So I feel your pain.
Great, because mine, I couldn't. I was also doing it. I was embarrassed, thinking, "What is up here? Like you can't salvage your hair," and I couldn't. I had never had hair that thick or that long in my life.
Wow.
So, I didn't really know that, all the management tricks. So, now I know you got to put the conditioning cap and some sort of conditioner, whether it's coconut oil or, these are good tips for people who want to donate hair too. You got to put some coconut oil or conditioning oil pretty much almost every night. Mm-hmm. And at least do a treatment so that you keep your hair soft and you keep it smooth. And so that a comb or at least it doesn't have to be a soft comb, but it has to be at least a hard comb, can go through your hair and takes out all the knots. And then your hair will be in good shape to donate.
Thank you so much for that.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Well, I had to fail this one. So.
Oh no, you had to fail this one. That's what happened to me this summer, and I've had a really hard time over the years. Like, you just want to be able to give back, and when you do, you just find different ways. But I just want to encourage our audience, like when you can do living donations of any kind, just warms your heart when you can do it.
It does. It is a sacrifice. I mean, you grow your hair for a long time, and not for nothing, gentlemen, we like our hair. We like our long hair, and all the different styles we can style it as, and this and that and the other. So it's a sacrifice. It really is. So when we finally make the decision, if we're going to do it for other people like that, we definitely want it to work, So I don't know. That's my 2 cents on that.
I love
so,
it.
Yeah. So if you want to move over to what you were talking about, which is a little bit my sort of history in the cancer world,
Mm-hmm.
and what I'm doing with it now, and then on to the books. I graduated from Mount Sinai from their general surgery program in somewhere around 08. And then I did a special fellowship in breast cancer out in California. That was like what's called SSO accredited, so Society of Surgical Oncology accredited breast cancer fellowship. So that's where I learned all about breast cancer. And then from there, I worked at various different hospitals, and took various, positions where I was being trained, and other positions where I was the sort of the mentor and the chief position. So I got to experience my range of different positions. And just real quick to go back in history a little bit, during my time at Mount Sinai as a general surgeon, I developed a program in the Dominican Republic where each of the residents had to spend a semester, or rather a month, because a semester is too much time to miss out of your residency, a month in the Dominican Republic, living with a host family, and just basically learn what it was like to practice medicine in an undersourced country. We did not go to any of the nice areas in the Dominican Republic. We went to the city, in the heart of the city, and the one of the roughest areas you can imagine in the country. So it was a little bit risky for all of us, which was the point. We wanted everybody to have that experience of sort of not being cuddled and on the Upper East Side of the New York City. Not that we weren't at the Harlem line, we were, but this is a different level when you're not sure where your food's going to come from for the day, and you're not sure if there's going to be a bathroom working, and you're not sure if you're going to get to take a shower. And these were all the sort of issues that we faced. And then of course in the operating room, are you going to get a knife? Are the light bulbs going to be working? And are you going to get any more than 4 sponges to wipe up several pints of blood? I mean, these were sort of the issues that you'd have to face in an operating room in a place like this. And I also fought while I was there pretty hard to see what we could do about a breast center. I did, and I recognized that in a month, and even in a lot more time, it was going to be a consummate failure, because with the breast center, you not only need to make the diagnosis and do the treatment. Let's just say you want to do a lumpectomy on a patient. So that's taking out a piece of the breast. Well, from there, you have to understand the patient's pathology, make sure you've gotten everything out, send them to the capital so they can have their pathology evaluated, and that cost comes out of the pocket of the patient, a lot of whom can't afford that. And then there's a course of chemotherapy and a course of radiation. So a lot of these patients are not they're not amenable to that in a sort of underserved country. So their only option becomes mastectomy, with or without chemotherapy, and chemotherapy is also a fortune. So trying to develop a breast center or a breast program anywhere from sub-Saharan Africa to Central America to Haiti to you name it, like it's just an exercise in frustration unless the funds exist. And they have to exist, I would say, starting on a municipal level. The country has to dig out programs for for their patients in need, unless talking about major multi-million dollar, almost billion-dollar donors that want to give specifically to these causes. So that's one thing that I determine, and I'm hoping as the future goes on that I could very much be a part of major donations made to certain places for this to succeed. So that's one of the dreams that I have, but I'd have to fall into that kind of financial situation, which sort of brings me to today, where I've taken a break from clinical medicine, and I founded a startup based on another little physics dream that I have. I'm a woman of many colors. Well, we've noticed that in breast surgery, there are two specific areas that are in major need. One is when you're doing your lumpectomy, understanding whether you've gotten out all the margins immediately. We don't have good technology to do that. There are some companies coming down the pike that are claiming to be able to do that, but we don't have great technology that can do that right now. So there are some what's called spectral technologies that do have the ability to do it, but they're missing specimen handling equipment to be able to do it. And an even bigger sort of market / demand is getting a diagnosis. So you're very well versed in breast cancer, and it's not just breast; it's for pretty much any soft tissue tumor, where we have to wait. Take a patient in for a prostate biopsy, and they're looking at a wait time of 3 to 6 to 7 days before they even find out what the results are. And in our society like today, we don't find that wait acceptable. We want to know immediately what their diagnosis is, and that's not just a Burger King thing. That's not just like we want our food right away. We want to know, what chemotherapies will work. We want to know, what their whole treatment plan is from day one, because that does make a difference. There is a domino effect. If there's a 3-day wait time, that will translate into a 3-week wait time until they're in the operating room, which will translate into. So it actually does make a difference how fast we can return those pathology results. And you could even see that mirrored in the COVID world. You could see how much of a difference it made. It's a little bit different, but the difference between the 1 day or the instant COVID results versus the 3-day COVID results, and what it did to put people on 3-day holds, having to having to quarantine themselves for 3 days versus being able to go about your business. It's just, it's not the same model, but it had consequences that are, at least you can sort of parallel them to some of the consequences that I'm talking about. So this company, if successful, we're at the proof stage, proving out the concept stage, and applying for multiple grant stage, and also very close to pitching to investors. This could be hopefully a very successful company, and that's where I'm talking about, mining some of the profits to things like the Dominican project and things like that. So, because it would be remiss of me not to shell out some of the profits for my true passion, which was to help patients in the underserved world. Why use Dominican? Why Nicaragua? Why there's a lot of countries. Honduras and Guatemala. I majored in Spanish literature in college, so Spanish is a second language for me. I speak it fluently. And so, it was always a little easier for me to go down to Central America and just get by and really understand what their problems were in the country, because when you speak a language fluently, you really understand what some of the barriers are. I'm not against, I'd love to go to Vietnam, and I'd love to go to Africa and be acquainted with some of their problems there, but it's just a layer harder when you don't speak the languages.
Absolutely, 100%.
So
that's amazing. You remind me of my sister-in-law, who so she's a general surgeon with specialization bariatric, who also majored in Spanish, and so that same idea of like that love for, we have this love, but I really want to bring back the fact that you're bringing up service, like, and because I love the word seva, I've brought it up before. The word seva in Hindi and Sanskrit means service, and every language has this word of giving so that you can. And I think the idea behind you talking about underserved and underprivileged, especially with women's health in these countries that massively need. I mean, we're finally getting on board in this country with women's health a little bit. I'll acknowledge on my own, but we still have so much work to do around the world.
Oh, there is. I spent 2 months in India where they wouldn't let a woman be seen without another woman there, and it was deplorable. Like
Wow.
if the only person there is a male physician, those women patients don't get seen.
Yeah.
It was just unreal. And so they took me, who at the time was a medical student, and they had me doing the gynecologic exams, and I said, I'm not trained to do this. And
Mhm.
because I was a
Yeah.
student, but that was the disparity.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the fact that when we talk about disparities, we have disparities in this country, of course, but like when we really take a look at what exists and how women in this country, we do have so much privilege and not to take it for granted. Like I did, Dr. H, I walked in that mammogram and knowing that the results were coming that day, which it had been 2.5 years. I didn't get it done during COVID, but to know how quickly things are happening when you're talking about imaging results, like I got my clean bill of health, like literally in my inbox. I'm I was shocked to see how, and when you're talking about, yes, there is a little bit of anxiety,
There's
even
a
though,
lot of anxiety.
and
It's
I'm
not a
telling you,
little bit.
I shouldn't even say it's a little, because previously
Yeah.
in the 20s I have had issues with my breast health too, and as I'm in my 40s now, I do always go back to my 20s and think maybe there's something that these cysts that could play a role. So you're right. It was a lot of anxiety during the day. I shouldn't even say it was little. I realize now, but
Yeah.
what I'm just reminding,
Well, because you're trying not to sound like, you're in as worse shape as the people in India who never get a mammogram,
that's
but there's still a lot of
there's
anxiety.
still anxiety. And you're right, it is about cancer treat and how we look at it in general. You're 100% right. When we those moments of anxiety when you just want to know right away whether it's chemo or this or what treatment plan. So for you to talk about how we need to take advantage of time, and time, and that's one of my favorite quotes by Leo Tolstoy, is time and patience are the two most powerful warriors in the world. And it's true. Like time is of the essence in this, where people.
Yeah, I think so. And that's actually going to be amongst the mission statements of this company that I'm working at, which is like cancer steals time, pathology takes away your time. And my
Totally.
company, Calum Diagnostic Solutions, plan to give you your time back by eliminating that 3 to 5 day wait. And that's not like a generic statement. That's actually what we plan to do.
Wow.
So because what else is more precious?
There's
um
nothing.
I mean, you can say money is more precious, but you can't buy your health back. And time is really it. So that's
Totally.
so,
So
and I don't
Dr.
want to make
Rachel,
the jump to Doctoroo.
oh, you still read my mind. Like I'm.
We'll talk about a happier subject
I
right
mean,
now.
you have such a beautiful career and all the things that you're doing, and then like this wonderfulness of a two-part. You've written another one too, but um,
Yeah, I've gotten 3 now in the mix, almost. The 3rd one's about to
oh,
come out.
oh my
And
goodness,
the 3rd one is I think the best out of all of them, which I can tell you a little bit about. But I'll tell you that I've had this idea 20 years ago, when I
Mhm,
was still in med school. So you could say I was more qualified then than I am now, when I was still experiencing a more broad uh, education.
mhm,
And this is more of a pediatrics project, because
mhm,
I've had a couple podcasters like question me, like, why are you an oncologist and you're writing about general pediatrics? And
mhm,
I said, this was always a gift I wanted to leave the little ones.
mhm,
um it's simple enough for me to write basic pediatrics and basic health topics. And that's kind of what I do. I conceptualize this sort of star named Doctoroo. So her name is really Dr. Marcia Rue, or Dr. Marcia the marsupial. And the Rue is her last name, but most importantly is she'll get a call or a letter, or now text. We're moving on to text in the third book. Now we're modernizing her. She's on Rugram too. She's taking selfies. And so her mailman, Louis Lama, he stops by and will bring her some sort of news coming from somewhere around the world. And with the exception of the one you're holding up, where she is from Aussie land, she's Australian. Right, with the exception of that one, she always goes somewhere in the world. So in the first book, she goes to Washington, and she flies her own plane. She's a real Renaissance woman, and she flies around the Washington Monument. So one of my important little tenets in the books is to show the kids at least one landmark. Okay, so sort of a little bit of a reflection of my own international health. I want the kids to learn a little bit of one thing, one clue, one thing that they've taken home from their traveling. So she's sort of virtual traveling inside a book. But Louis, at the time that he talks to Dr. Marcia or Dr. Rue, he says, we've got a problem. Like all the animals and or in the first book, like the marshmallows and hot dogs have all gone missing from the 4th of July picnic in Washington, D.C. All right, so that presents a little bit of a conundrum, and it's a little bit of a mystery, and it's a little bit quizzical because half the animals are saying, well, good, let them get rid of all the marshmallows and hot dogs. They're not good for you anyway. So she goes on a journey with her animals. She's got 3 pals. She's got Louis Llama, Terrence Toad, and Kirby Koala, who serves as her nurse, and Terrence is just their buddy, and he's just serves as comic relief. He's very funny. And in the first book, he's always hungry. He's always likes junk food. And so again, there's a back and forth of, like I say, good that they lost all the bad food. And she goes on a journey to teach them what all good foods are, and goes back into that a little old school, but food pyramid. And sort of, not to give away the end, but talks about how, like, it's always good to have a little bit of even bad food or whatever, even unhealthful food, and in moderation. So it's okay to have it in moderation, in very moderation. So this is what your base should be. And at the very tip, there's a little bit of room for this. So, that's the sort of message of the first book. And then the second one that you're holding is about hand washing. So the sort of message is that the opera star of the Sydney Opera House keeps getting very sick. We don't know why. I chose a hippo because hippos, they have a very loud voice. In fact, in schools of hippos, their voices will get up to 150 decibels, which is as loud as the rock concert. And they also make their own mud baths. They actually have the ability to auto make a mud bath. So, and I don't think any other animal can do that, can create a mud bath. So, so because they have the ability to do that, they can get very dirty. So, Dr. Rue goes on a mission to figure out why she's getting sick. Is somebody spitting on her? Somebody, like, eating from her food? She goes on all these mysteries and finds out that she's not washing her hands at the end of her mud baths. So it's all about hand washing and keeping the hands clean, which is really important in our time right now. Very important given what we're going through. And then I won't tell you the whole last one, but the last one's called Doctoroo and the Case of the Red Hot Hawaiians.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, in short, it's about getting a little too much sun exposure, but it's really fun. It's a really fun journey to all the things that can redden the skin and cause blistering of the skin. And it's a very exciting journey through the big island of Hawaii, and some of the dangers that lurk, but never in a scary way. I've never tried to scare the children, just educate them, and and give them some safety tips. So that's the whole sort of kit and caboodle of what I'm trying to do with Doctoroo. And the illustrations are really cute, and so far the kids I'm talking to are really liking it. Yeah, that's that's when they're all watching the Queen of England, I think, who's come for a special show after
So
Hilda the hippo gets better. That's Hilda the hippo. That's right after she got her health back.
it's just so vibrant. I mean, when I look at children's books, part of my work, my heart always lies with children, but I always look for, when I'm thumbing through books, I always look for those vibrant illustrations, which this so has. And animals in specialty, animals speak, especially because they have such great metaphors, and kids are naturally able to understand metaphors and what animal speak is. And so for you to use animals, that's their love language, as is all of us, actually, really. We just forget about.
It's true, but I have to tell you, I will not take credit for drawing the book, because I
Oh,
I am
I know you're
I got
multi-talented.
enough. Haven't I done enough?
I mean, I know you're multi-talented. I thought
I've
that
done
one
enough.
might
All I can draw are stick figures, but I found a phenomenal illustrator from Ukraine. We're actually, I have a team, and we're all looking out for her right now, given everything that's
Yeah,
happening in that part of the world. But
yeah.
she's phenomenal, and I write the words, and she picks up on the words and draws the illustrations exactly to my
Oh my,
liking, language barrier and all. She just gets it. So
that is
she's fantastic. I don't know what I'd do without her. She's really great. So
a
we sort
great.
of make a good team. We're very synergistic. She really just gets it in one
Yes.
blow.
When
So
you envisioned this back, like when you were in that pediatric rotation, did you see this being a series? Did you? I mean, when you were conceptualizing, what were you thinking, like at that time?
Artie, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't just dream. I dream big.
I love
So I dream very big, and I dreamed it being a book, a series, a cartoon, merchandise, you name it.
it.
Okay, I dream really big, because when I think of creating a powerful character
Mhm.
and her series, I think, what's the most powerful way to permeate people's minds, and I think this character, Doctoroo, and her friends are really powerful, like role models.
Mhm.
I really, really do. Like, I have, there's not one part of me that thinks that they're even controversial. I think that they're very powerful role models, and great for kids. I think there's, not enough. I don't have kids myself, but I don't think that there are enough uh, children's role models out there. And everyone I've talked to, sort of everything that I've polled and looked through, there are no, physicians like this, animal physicians that have the perfect name, Doctoroo,
Mhm.
um, that are perfectly poised to teach kids about healthcare. So you see Doctoroo in a book, and then you see her on possibly a Cartoon Network, and then you see her on a Band-Aid, and you see her on a backpack or something. And then you've got the trifecta of sort of a sphere of influence that this character can really have on your kids' lives. And that's kind of how I see it. It's not a power play. It's just, I really want her to have the best chance at influencing the children, as opposed to just having a couple book series that never really make it out the gate. I'd like her to have the biggest chance of having influence as possible, because I really, really feel that she has a chance to change the lives of your kids. And in so many ways, Artie, it's like everything from teaching the kids about hand washing to serving as a role model to teach your kids how to be a physician or a nurse. I mean, there's just, sea of possibilities is endless. So I would say the more exposure she gets, the better in every which way. So that's kind of how I envision it. So like I said, I do dream big about all these things, but I do it for the sake of the reader, the customer. So I think that we've shortchanged them if people don't get to ever hear about Doctoroo.
Yeah. I hear you saying that you want children to experience like the idea behind the mission is not just, I mean, this is a wonderful series, I can already tell, but the idea that it infiltrates their lives in a great positive way.
I mean, I think so. I mean, if I'm wrong, if I am wrong and this is a bad influence, then may it be shut down, but
Oh,
but
no,
I just don't think so.
no,
you
and
know.
when you were speaking about, my mind when you were speaking about role models, like, you know, I feel like, gosh, I was thinking about this book and reading Rainbow and how like LeVar Burton would be all over it. And like the excuse me, the times that we kind of grew up with, and I'm like just remembering these times that the idea of these role models, and what do kids have? Like, what do they have? Some TikTok star that just randomly, or some Instagram star that just magically has 10,000 followers, but who do we have that they get to look up to?
I mean, I don't want to ditch or diss SpongeBob and the SquarePants
Yeah.
and all that stuff. And I mean, I've never actually watched a full episode. I've seen parts of it, but I'm asking myself, like, what does this character teach the kids? Funny sounds and silly music, and I just I'm thinking about things like that. I thought Dora the Explorer might have been a good role model, because I think she explored the world.
Mhm.
But you know, I think that we growing up had better role models. I do.
Yes. Yes, through our
I
media,
do.
not only through our media, but even just our leadership roles on who we saw, right?
I
Children are
agree.
not seeing a lot of positive so for you to even, you know, and I want to just say to you, when a lot of medical physicians do stay in that area of just their practice, and I think they have this dream of like, maybe one day I'll do Doctors Without Board, or maybe one day, but you like literally infiltrated and made it a part very early in your career, and now you still have that vision like like permeating your
Yeah,
life.
I mean, it's taken on different forms. I'm a little older and it's a little harder to do Doctors Without Borders at this age, but
Mhm.
I'm still trying to say, like, I won't ever give up different iterations of it. And I've also seen, as I've gotten older, okay, doing international health a lot harder without the dollar. So
Mhm.
let me see what
Mhm.
I can do to get the dollar, and then flip it back into international health. Let me
Totally.
see, you know what I'm saying? Like, um,
Yes.
so I'm trying to complete the circle on the whole thing. And I feel like and the other thing is I knew not to write books on cancer,
Mhm.
for kids.
Mhm.
Like that's, at least not now, maybe one day if I'm writing for the older kid. But it's very heavy.
Mhm.
It's a
Mhm.
very heavy topic. At least again, I'm not trying to bust up the rhythm of the books that I'm doing. And right now they're just very simple. They're very non-intimidating. They're books that kids can both read about and laugh about and have fun with. And, so at least not at this stage. Maybe in the future,
Mm.
I can broach that. I'm not saying that I won't, but I'm saying that it's premature to all of a sudden go from hand washing and sunblocks to how to deal with cancer, or how to deal with mommy dying, or how to, I'm not ready. And I
It's
don't
not the
think it's not the time. That the kids won't be ready. Whatever I'm building here, it will die. So when it's right, or when it's time to make that jump, I'll know it. And
Mhm.
and and I'll be getting pushed in that direction and stuff like that. So that's when the time will be to do
Totally.
something like that. I'm not afraid of it. I just know that it will hurt something that I know is really growing. And what first thing we want to do is get the fans on board, and get them to trust Doctoroo, trust
Mhm.
me as a writer,
Mhm.
and know that this is always going to be a sort of a safe place to come, you know.
Yes. And just the anxiety that exists for kids with just going to the doctor and like having these books on simple, like even hand washing, to be honest with you, Dr. Rachel, like even in the schools, like my kids sometimes tell me when especially there are times the hand washing was not being done correct. Can you imagine like having this great
It's never
story?
been done correctly. I never learned how to wash my hands correctly. You know,
Yeah.
um,
I don't think we ever I mean, I'm thinking about my teaching years. Would tell them to scrub and, like, take the pump, but would I ever show them? I mean,
just on that note for a second, like on the other podcast that I've been on,
mhm,
the correct way to wash and dry the hands is you pump from the dispenser, you scrub for 20 seconds. And I have my niece and nephew rely upon for this, especially my niece because she likes the more girlish songs.
mhm.
But I taught her Vogue,
Oh,
from my Madonna days. I refuse to let her grow up and not know
I
Madonna.
love it, I love it,
I'm dating myself, but
I love it.
so we came up with like, something like, don't just stand there. Let's get to it. Wash your hands. There's nothing to it. And then we'll go through the choruses until we time it to 20 seconds.
Mhm.
And then we know she's washed her hands for 20 seconds. And then she can, like a surgeon, she pumps, she puts her hand under the water so all the soap is gone. And the other ways of doing it are, especially for like my nephew who would prefer to, um, you know, wash his hands with some Lego character. So
Mhm.
let him take a bath with the Lego character. Like, go ahead, let him,
Yeah.
spend the
Have at
time
it.
in the right.
If it keeps you to the 20 seconds, but to have at it, totally, yes.
Exactly. And the final thing is that they find this scented soap dispenser, something that they like to smell like,
Mhm.
and have them do it for 20 seconds. Uh, a lot of other, mothers and teachers use the alphabet song to count out the 20 seconds. So you pick your song, you pick your timing method, mechanism, and you go with that. But that's the proper way.
Yeah. No, makes total sense. So so you said, well, we obviously are at the 3rd. Are you thinking I mean, how expansive are you thinking when it comes to this series?
Um, I'm thinking 8 for
Mhm.
this year,
Mhm.
maybe 10.
So,
So,
do you carve out time in your schedule? Like, how does it work for because, as we know, writing is very creative and
mhm.
so do you carve out time in your schedule or you just are inspired to I'm always fascinated with authors'
Well,
stories.
I have a team of 3 others in addition to me. So I've got sort of the marketing executive, and sort of the publishing company. And I have a very good editor who's great with poetry. So she'll help me here and there with throwing in a poem. And I have the artist and I have the cover designer. So you wouldn't believe this, but once I get the idea in my head, I write this book in a few hours. So I just have to get the idea in my head. Once I get the idea in my head, I write the mystery out in a few hours. That's how I've always worked my whole life. I don't have time not to burn through things. So I just burn through things, and then I'll correct it, and then I have my team correct it. So that's kind of how I've been sort of facing this, because yes, between my company and I have some other things written as well. I have a movie and some novels and other things. I'm a little overworked.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yes, trying to pace yourself while you're
exactly. But then what happens is the whole book takes like a month to get it through. So the easiest part, I'm going to say, is for me is the first draft.
Gotcha.
And then the real work begins.
Yeah. That's so awesome. So Dr. Rachel, what are your parting thoughts? And do share where everyone can get their copies of, well, this is the second part.
Thank you. Well, I first of all, hats off to you, because I think what you're doing is amazing. So don't stop, because it's interesting, like the work that I'm doing in synergy with the work that you're doing. This is what lights up the world, honestly. It's what I'm doing right now would have no effect unless there are people like you doing what you're doing. So
I agree with you. It's all about everybody just playing their part, right? Like everybody.
We got to pitch in. Absolutely. So, to answer your question, the website that I have that I'm hosting these books on right now are called www.doctoroo.health. Yeah.
Great.
You've got it. And you can also find them on Amazon directly. If you type in Doctoroo, you'll find the books. But if you go to doctoroo.health and click on the books, it will take you right to the Amazon links, and that's where you can buy it. So you really can't buy these anywhere other than Amazon. And I think a Goodreads page is starting to pop up, but I would trust Amazon. So if you go to doctoroo.health, like I said, it will just take you over to, it will link you over to the Amazon link, and that's where you can buy it.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Rachel, for the beautiful gift of your time and for being with us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. And I hope your hair went to someone great. And I'm gonna have to try again now for the
Yep.
It'll take me another couple of years, because I hadn't cut it in like 3 or 4 years.
I know. Same boat. It's a long time in the making. Well, thank you so much. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. And I think the one thing that I want to leave everyone from today is, just keep following your dreams. You hear Dr. Rachel's story, like she has thoughts and she goes with it. So dream big and follow and play hard. Have a good week, everyone.
I appreciate that. And I want to add that I put them off for a long time, and I regret that.
Okay, so parting thoughts. Go with that. Just go with the thought that's positive and just fly with it, right?
Yep, you got it.
All right, everyone.
Thank you, Artie.
Thank you. Bye.